Hello and I welcome you all to World Affairs English. My name is Prashant Dhawan. Now, every nation in the world has its certain idea about its image. Every nation wants to be either feared or respected. But India chose a very different path. If you ask an average Indian that what kind of a nation do you want India to become, then he will certainly say that I wish that India becomes the Vishwaguru of the world. We want India to become the light that guides the world towards a better future. And recently, Ukraine's top minister, that's right, we usually expect this kind of a statement from either Russia, perhaps Israel, but of all the countries, Ukraine's minister recently said these words that India is indeed a Vishwaguru of the world. Ukraine is in no position to preach India about what to do, what not to do. Clearly, India's aggressive foreign policy has made one thing clear to the rest of the world. You will not tell us what to do. And I could clearly see in the minister's tone, in her words that she chose, she understood that India knows its status and she made her comments accordingly. Now, let me just show you what she actually said about India and then we'll discuss why her statement is so important.
I mean, look, we are not in the position of instructing India. I think that India, as a global player, really is a Vishwaguru of the world. Because Ukraine never attacked any other country, like your country. Your Prime Minister in Samarkand said that it's not an era of war. I mean, we hope that India would be involved and engaged into global issues and challenges. It was a great one. I'm very excited to be in India, both professionally and personally. Personally, I've been in India for probably 7 times. In Puttaparthi, which is a small village near Bangalore, inside Sri Satya Sai Baba's ashram. And he's my beloved guru, so again, being here as a deputy minister with my official visit is of a huge excitement. The conversation with the deputy minister was efficient. We discussed.
Now, you could clearly see that the Ukrainian minister was trying to present a very positive image of Ukrainians in India because she knew earlier, Ukraine has blundered regarding its Indian foreign policy. I clearly remember, I'm sure most of you guys remember as well, Ukraine's foreign minister openly said in August 2022 that according to him, India is buying Ukrainian blood by purchasing Russian crude oil. Interestingly, around this time, India's purchases of Russian crude oil weren't even all that high. Considering right now, India is buying twice the amount of oil from Russia that it buys from, let's say, Iraq. Russia is pretty much supplying 1/3 of India's total crude oil needs. So we are buying far more oil from Russia. And Ukraine has understood that India will not be pressured by such statements. If you want India's support, if you want India's aid, you have to be respectful. And this is what we saw in the statements made by Ukraine's deputy minister. And another thing that you should know is India's image in Ukraine as a friendly nation has diminished quite a lot. So Ukraine's government wants to repair that as well. Because in the long run, Ukraine wants a neutral India. They do not want their people, their government to have a very negative view of a very important nation like India, the fastest growing major economy in the world. You want to make sure that you are on its good side. But since Ukraine's government constantly kept criticizing India's decision to buy Russian crude oil, a lot of Ukrainians right now have a rather negative view of India. Recently, there was a huge survey done. Which country is your favorite? Which country do you dislike? Basically, it was a survey about foreign relations, about foreign country. What kind of an opinion do normal Ukrainians have about all these countries? Now, obviously, the most favored and loved country right now in Ukraine is Poland, because Poland is not just providing weapons to Ukrainians. A lot of people in Ukraine are actually living as refugees in Poland, and Poland has happily absorbed a lot of these refugees as well. They are working over there, they are trying to rebuild their lives. So Poland is number one, the most loved country in Ukraine, even above US. Actually, even after giving billions of dollars, some Ukrainians have a little doubt over America's true intentions, what US really wants from Ukraine. So US is not even the top 5 most loved country in Ukraine right now, even after Biden gave away billions of dollars. Now, interestingly, India's rank is very low. The most hated country right now in Ukraine is obviously Russia. 88% people over here have a very negative view of Russia because clearly Russia is trying to invade their land. Then the second most hated country in Ukraine is Belarus. Then comes Iran. Then of course China. China of course is hated because it is very clearly aligned with Russia, and China has often vetoed a lot of resolutions against Russia at the UN Security Council. And then right after China, you will see India. Roughly 33% people in Ukraine have a negative view about India. 21% people say that we can't really say for sure whether India is good or whether India is bad. We can't really say for sure. So according to this survey, India is pretty much the fifth most disliked important country in Ukraine right now, and the Ukrainian government definitely would want to change this. Why? Number one, they do want India's aid. If Ukraine is to rebuild, they will definitely need India's assistance. Secondly, India is the host of the G20 summit. They want India to properly raise the issue of Ukraine's invasion, and this is something Ukraine's deputy foreign minister mentioned in India as well, that it is important to have India on board. We simply cannot make sure that Ukraine progresses and this war ends without India's proper support. So don't be surprised when the Ukrainians suddenly start calling India a Vishwaguru. Until the G20 summit begins in September, they will call India whatever we want to hear. Obviously, Vishwaguru is a word that makes us Indians all warm and fuzzy inside, but any other thing that Indians like to hear, they'll say that as well, because India's role will be critical in the upcoming G20 summit. So this is pretty much all part of geopolitics. India is definitely on its way to become a Vishwaguru of the world, but we need to realize this particular compliment from Ukraine, it has a lot of conditions applied, riders with it as well. And Ukraine and India will stay in news a lot in the coming few days. If there are any new updates, I will make an updated video on this topic later on. And finally, I'd like to mention that if you guys are preparing for any examination, let's say SSC, UPSC, NEET, IIT, JEE, you can buy Unacademy's quality courses. By using the code PD10, you'll get a flat 20% discount because we have a sale that is active right now. So suppose if you want to buy a UPSC course, click on the UPSC link over here and you can buy the UPSC course by Unacademy. Just make sure to put the code PD10 and the prices will start falling tremendously and you'll be able to save a lot of money. So use the code PD10 and save money. This right here is the end of the video. Thank you for listening, and as always, God bless you all.